and welcome to your Raiders show on our TV. And this is going to be a good one today, folks, because I was so pessimistic, as I was told last week, and I said, okay, if that's the way you want to look at it, fine. I said, but all I was trying to say is that you can't look at fool's gold. And that's what I thought we were playing with in a couple of our wins. They were wins. I was excited they won. I wanted them to win, but I didn't like the way we won. And your response was, well, just win, baby. Just, Al Davis's quote, it's a win's a win. It is, but not when it gives you a false sense of security about how you're winning when you play a solid football team that Kansas City was on Sunday.
Kansas City was solid Sunday. I agree with you there. I'm still not on the fool's gold bandwagon. My adage is a little bit different. I'm looking at the fact that the Raiders just came out and played horrible, right? They were ugly. The conditions, the rain was ugly. Carr was ugly. The defense continues to be ugly. So I feel like that the Raiders just came out and they played horrible. So I feel like we can go there and beat them in Kansas City. That's normally what happens in this rivalry, and that's what made it so bad for me because, as you said, you can't stand the Patriots before we came on the air today. I can't stand the Chiefs or the Broncos. And I don't even like San Diego, but they're all right. But they're not as big as a rivalry as the Chiefs or the Broncos for the Oakland Raiders. So, but I think the Raiders, they got their work cut out for them, and here's the problem. They're expected to win the next two games. So they got nothing but room to lose. If they don't beat Jacksonville and they don't turn around and beat Tampa Bay, then people are going to subscribe to your theory of the fool's gold. Now, that means that the only way the Raiders are going to actually garner the respect that I believe they deserve and what I feel like that they can earn is by going out the next game and kicking Denver's behind at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum when Denver comes to town. So that's going to be our next game after those first two road trips. And that way, if we prove that we can punch Denver in the mouth, which, mind you, up until this recent loss by San Diego, we were the last team to beat Denver. So I know the Raiders can beat Denver with the team they had last year. So I believe they can do it again.
Well, the only concern I have is we both projected based on records and teams that we are playing that we should. And we never did say they should beat Kansas City. When we made that comment, Kansas City was 0-2. And Charles wasn't there, and they weren't playing very well. That's the reason that I made the comment. But the week that Andy Reid had to prepare, they had a bye week. They're what now, 15-2?
He's 16-2 after the bye week now.
So that was something that should have, I don't know how much that was preached to the Raiders in practice all week, but obviously not enough. But my concern now is we go back and play a Jacksonville team that at this time last year didn't even have a win. Now they won 2 in a row. And it doesn't matter who they beat. They just won 2 in a row. They're pumped up and they're playing at home. So if we go in with less than a killer instinct, we're going to be in trouble again. And then, wait a minute, and then we got to go to see Jameis Winston. And he played very well on TV the other night, and they won again. So all I'm saying is that's what sports is really all about. You have your ups and downs, and you have the teams that can deal with emotion, I would rather, at this point, now listen to this, I wish all of our damn games was on the road, the way we play at home. And a lot of that, and from experience, as long as I've been around this game and played, when you got young guys, they don't perform as well at home as they do on the road.
Well, that's going to be tested because the Raiders have to spend 2 weeks away from home. So what I'm thinking is the other thing, you got young guys, you're in Florida, okay? So you need to act like a grown man and be responsible and accountable for your actions there because they're going to be out there and they'll get some nightlife in between that, and there's plenty of nightlife in Florida. But to take a line from Amari Cooper, it's not what the Chiefs did, it's what the Raiders didn't do. And I feel like that the Raiders, they came out flat in the second half and didn't even score any points. Here you go, we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, that the Raiders had the top offense in football. Well, now they've sunk down to number 8 because they're not executing in the second half. And the Raiders didn't score at all in the second half, and that's what killed them.
Well, the thing that, again, consistency. When we have won and played well, our strongest suits have been our running and Coop and Crabtree, correct?
Correct.
Crabtree wasn't even targeted but once in the first half. And that one time, he was wide open.
And slipped and fell because he couldn't
No.
fight back for the ball.
Right.
I watched the replay a couple times yesterday.
I got that. But why did you have to fight back for the ball? He's running for a touchdown.
It was poorly thrown because of the weather conditions.
No. See,
Carr tried to throw that ball off the back of his foot.
Then that's
the
inexperience of a young quarterback. But
so it was partly Carr's fault and partly the ball got away from him because that ball was at least 10 yards short of where Crabtree was.
Okay.
Crabtree had Sean Smith beat by 8 yards.
Well, then how could you say it's partly? It wasn't partly. It was all Carr. How can you blame Crabtree? He falls trying to come back.
I didn't blame Crabtree.
You just said
but what
partly.
I'm saying
Who's the other part?
What I'm saying is Crabtree had trouble with the weather conditions. He stated that. You can see him falling if you look a lot throughout the game. Amari Cooper, the Raiders practiced for wet balls because they did have Friday prior to the actual game. We had some horrible rain that day as well. And Amari Cooper was having the most problems with the ball being slick. But during the game, it was Crabtree who had the most problem keeping his feet.
Now, he was there, but he was in the booth. I mean, he was up in the box. So he probably had a different perspective normally where he is in the end zone. If you've been in the end zone, you'd probably. All I'm saying is, how can you say that he had a bad half? They only threw to him one time in the first half.
I didn't say Crabtree had a bad half.
You just
said
did.
The Raiders had a bad second half. The Raiders did not score at all in the second half.
Can we do an instant replay back?
I did not say Crabtree didn't score. I said the Raiders did not score for the entire second half.
No, but then you made the comment about Crabtree was having a bad time catching the ball. He never threw it to him.
My colleague now officially has sometimers because he sometimes remember what I say and sometimes he doesn't.
Is it will play back and you're going to see what you said.
Okay.
All right.
Well, perhaps we can have the editor replay it right after when he edits it, so you can hear exactly what I said. And I'm sure he's capable of doing that.
Regardless, he didn't throw to him but once.
Right.
And he never touched the ball.
To clarify, again, it wasn't Crabtree that had a bad game. The Raiders had a bad second half. But we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back and argue some more because we're both in an angry mood because of the Raiders' loss.
I'm
still angry.
I'm not. I wasn't angry then because I saw it coming. And we got to go to break, right?
We'll be right back with more of Your Raiders Show here on our TV.
And welcome back to Your Raiders Show on RTV. And I found out a little information that I wasn't aware of. Mr. Stat over here told me that, I'm so much on Crabtree. We'll get back to that in a minute. But Carr has the ability and has changed 44%. That's almost half of the plays that they call. He has the ability to change that in the huddle.
And that's what he's done at the line of scrimmage, primarily in the gun, because Carr ran the gun at Fresno State, and he's more effective throwing out of the gun. He's more comfortable than lining up behind center. But Carr has actually checked out of the play that Musgrave has called about 44% of the time that he's taken snaps for the Raiders this year, meaning that he's seeing what the defense is lining up and he's making the proper adjustments and he's making the correct calls. I mean, if you watch, first let's take a look at the first touchdown because that's probably the only highlight. It was our only score that we had. So you see Carr, he's lined up in the gun, he looks, you see the defender holding Holmes as he crosses the goal line. Holmes shakes him and miraculously at 6'4" comes up with the catch, alley-oop style in the back of the end zone. Great pass by Carr, great catch by Holmes. The thing is that the Raiders scored on the first drive. They went right down the field, and I was thinking in my seat, oh man, this is going to be good. Carr's in rare form. And then after that, the second drive, as you alluded to, how we got into it passionately about Crabtree and that play.
Well, my point is that he was a good 7 to 10 yards behind the defense. And he tried to come back for the ball and fell down. But even if he wouldn't have fallen, probably the best thing he probably could have done was maybe deflected and not have an interception. But I don't even think, if you go back and look at the play, even if no trip, no nothing, the ball was right to him. He just stopped and caught it. So it was so easy. It would have been
Yes.
so difficult for him to try to knock that away.
The only reason why Crabtree slipped because he saw the ball was underthrown and he tried to adjust his footing to get back to the ball to at least fight for it.
I agree.
Because there was nothing there for him to
I
get.
totally
And
agree.
he slipped and fell. And that kind of gave you an inclination of what the weather conditions were like out there for Crabtree because he
Okay.
had problems with his footing all
But
game
let's
long.
talk about this. It wasn't like the sun came out and it was 90 degrees when Kansas City got the ball. So they had to play on the same condition and that's our home field. So there's no excuse for that as far as I'm concerned. You trained for that. You said it rained on Friday. So if you got to keep the guys later, you have to emulate what you're going to deal with in 2 days.
Your point is well taken. Now, I will mention this. The Raiders did have the benefit of having rain on Friday, but the Kansas City Chiefs' last game was in the exact same conditions as they went to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh walloped Kansas City. Was it 28-0? So yeah, the Chiefs had one game up in terms of playing in those conditions, and we all know practice is one thing, but when you're going against live bodies, it's a different thing.
Yeah, but the other thing when you talk about, well, let's talk about the offense, because I was just disappointed that we got away from our normal game plan. You know, when you move the ball around, I mean, early on, and you talked about Coop having a tough time. He caught 9 passes in the first half.
One of the few bright spots of the game, Cooper actually had 9 receptions in the first half. He ended up with 10 receptions for 129 yards. So, and he was the first Raider to break 10 receptions since Brandon Myers, the old tight end, back in 2002. So that was pretty good that Cooper was able to break a record for the Raiders.
Yeah, well, I'm not a big record guy when it comes to that, because if you win, the records are great. If you lose, it doesn't matter. But my point is, by him targeting Cooper so much, he targeted nobody else. And he got receptions, but they didn't result in anything. And what I'm saying is, when you move the ball around, then it becomes who's getting it next. And you keep your defense on edge that way. But when you're going to the same guy all the time and you're not even trying to get it to, Coop is a great receiver. At this point, with the Raiders and where they are, their most valuable receiver to me is Crabtree, because he's the guy that catches the ball when you really need it in big situations. But he wasn't even targeted. That's what I don't understand.
No doubt.
And now that may have been the 44% that Carr changed, because I can't imagine Bill Musgrave not knowing that you have to. I mean, it's just same in basketball. Steph Curry's not going to shoot the ball every time he gets it. He's going to give it to Clay. He's going to give it to other people. But you can't go to one guy exclusively and expect that to work. And obviously, it didn't, because he only caught 1 pass in the second half. The Chiefs took that away from us, and he still didn't go to Crabtree.
And he could not make the adjustment. So I'm not here to place the blame on Crabtree or Carr. The Raiders just was horrible in the second half. It was a team effort, whether it was a check down from Carr or whether Crabtree was having trouble with his footing and threw the timing off in his cuts, because he's a very precision route runner. And so there's no excuse for Crabtree to be open all these games prior to that and not open during this game. So I think in Derek Carr's case, he kind of takes what the defense gives him. And Amari Cooper was, actually, we need to go to the toast session, because whoever was trying to guard him should have been the toast of the week, because Amari Cooper, as we go back and take a look at a montage of some of the receptions he's had as I'm describing it to you, he was able to get slants in, he was able to take deep outs in, comeback routes. He had it all, and he was unstoppable. I looked over to my friend and said, you know one thing, they cannot stop Cooper today. So I expected the same thing. So when he didn't get the ball in the second half, I was just as puzzled as you were.
Wait a minute, you saying that Cooper didn't get the ball?
Cooper, he didn't get the ball in the second half, no.
He was targeted, he just didn't get the ball.
Yeah, and Carr was noticeably off.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, this was the worst game that he's had all year. He clearly had 2 interceptions that the Chiefs just simply dropped the ball. He should have had 3 picks for the game. And he was sacked twice. So the offensive line, they get a B- for this game.
Well, you know, and when you consider how many passes attempts did he have on Sunday?
I think Carr put it up about 22 times.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure.
He might have put up 22 times in the first half.
Hmm,
Coop caught
we need
9.
to go back. We can take a look and
we
we'll
need
have
to
our
check.
stat guy check during this
But
next
all
break.
I'm saying is if you look at that, then you got to figure out in those, where was the ball going when it wasn't going to Coop and it wasn't going to Crabtree?
Man, Carr made some poor decisions. Here's an example. There was a play where we tried to do a screen. He led the ball right to the linebacker, and Jalen Richard caught the ball, and he laid there. I thought he was knocked out. I mean, he got knocked out, period. You know, and it was like, Carr, why would you even put your receiver at risk like that?
That's right.
Why did you do that? So his decision making wasn't right. And he admitted it after the game. And that's the thing I like about Derek Carr is his resilience. Now, in terms of consistency, you were hearing me say this when we lost our first game, when we lost to Atlanta. Derek Carr, when he makes mistakes, he bounces back. And I'm expecting a big game from him next week.
Well, I tell you what, if we're going to do what we think we're going to do, it better happen. So you can take us out of here, and we'll get back on. We'll get on.
Okay, and we're going to find out how many attempts he had, because my partner here questioned me, and I'm not always right. But we'll be back with your Raider Show on our TV.
Welcome back to your Raider Show on RTV, and these are tough shows to do because we both love the Raiders. We want them to win, but we just have to be honest and realistic about where we are, and we're not in a good state right now. And you couldn't have said it better in the first segment. If we don't come ready to play on this road trip, we can literally in the next 2 weeks come back 4-4.
Absolutely. And, the defense is having so many issues in terms of being able to stop running backs. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that another running back ran for a career day against the Raiders. They let Ware have 24 carries for 131 yards and a touchdown. Jamal Charles was a slight factor, only 9 for 33. He got a touchdown, though. But the offense that Kansas City was running gave the Raiders problems, and it was crazy.
Well, it all starts, we were talking about, I felt bad for Ken Norton, and I know everybody always wants the defensive coordinator's head when things like that happen. But as a coach, you can only teach a player and work with a player, whatever sport it in, it really doesn't matter. You work on your technique, the intensity and the heart you have, they can't teach that. You got to have it. And you would think you come into a situation where you're home, you're 4-1, you're leading the division, which hasn't happened since 2002, and and that's why I say I wonder about the younger guys and just everybody in general getting more relaxed at home. That's why I said I wish all the games was on the road because I think they play better. But the point is, you can't make a player, you can't blame it on the coach when the player doesn't do. The only thing that I say, if you see guys consistently not performing, that's why you guys got guys on the bench. You can't do no worse. You last in the league. Put them in there.
Well, the best thing that us Raider fans can hope for is the defense is a work in progress. Now, if you think about it, the two starting safeties that are in there right now, you got Reggie Nelson and you got Carl Joseph. Neither one of them played in the preseason. So they're trying to get used to the communication, being in the right position, so that they can make the right plays. The coaches, like you said, are telling you what plays to implement. It's your job to execute those plays and to be in the right position. And fundamentals, from being involved in sports, when you know the basic fundamentals, it makes your movement so much easier. It's so easy to get open, or it's so easy to be able to be in the way if you know how to move your body. You know what comes first and what's next and how to do it. So the Raiders players, they're being coached up, and, I got a text today. We need to get rid of Ken Norton. It's not Ken Norton's fault.
No.
He's not on the field. He's a great motivator. We've all talked about that and seen that throughout the Raiders practices, their mini camps. So why are you putting the blame on him? Keep in mind, the Raiders are 4-2. So their defense is a work in progress. They got to get used to gelling, and what they really need back is Super Mario. When we get Super Mario back and we get Alden back in November, then we're going to have a formidable pass rush, and that's going to speed up the time or lessen the time that the quarterback has to get rid of the ball. And I think that you'll see once we get Mario back and get that push up the middle, that will also clog some of them running lanes.
Now, you said something that is very, very formidable when you said we're 4-2. Now, if you'd have asked every single Raider fan sitting in that stadium on Sunday before the season started, after 6 games, would you be okay with 4-2? Every one of them would have said,
tied for first place.
Yeah, every one of them would have said, yeah, absolutely. And not, but that's why I say you can't get too high on a win, you can't get too low on a loss. But you have to look at what we have, and right now, if Carr, the reason that we won a couple of games is because Carr was just outstanding offensively and we outscored the other team.
Absolutely.
But our defense has not been there the one game. Other than that, they have not been there like they needed to be. And I tell you, if this continues, you can't, I don't care, the offense has to score 50 points in order to assure us a win. Now Tampa Bay is not capable of scoring 50 points. Jacksonville is not capable of scoring 50 points. But we have to score high on the road like we did in New Orleans in order for us to win those games. And it'll probably be a 38-35 game or something like that.
Before last Sunday's game, the Raiders were averaging 28.4 points a game. The Raiders scored 28 points a game. That's a good reason why they will have 4 wins. So they have to at least score 28 points until this defense gets itself together. But last year the defense started off slow as well, and they got better as the season progressed. And that's what I'm looking forward to the defense doing, because they'll have more time to gel, become more cohesive, to improve on their communication. And we do get some key players back, and that's going to help out a lot.
Guess what?
I'm back to being optimistic now.
If they had 28 Sunday, we win 28-26.
That's it. So if they just score their average, and you're right, this was the one game where Derek Carr could not carry the Raiders defense. He had a poor game. It was his worst game, and I expect for him to bounce back with resiliency. And it is on the road. So the Raiders have proven to be road warriors. Try saying that fast 3 times. And they've done that very well over the course of this young season. But keep in mind, the season is still young. There's still 10 games left. So we just have to take them one at a time and look forward to next week with Jacksonville.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say they're going to win both games on the road. And believe it or not, I think the defense is going to play a part.
Okay.
All right? And then where I worry is they're going to come back home against Denver, which they don't play well against at home.
Denver's having quarterback issues. They don't have a
got
quarterback.
it. But Denver also has probably one of the best defenses in the league.
If not the best defense in the league.
So that's
which
what
will
I'm
be
saying.
a good test for us at home.
That's right, and especially for Carr.
So Carr just has to keep doing what he's doing in terms of keeping his nose to the grind. And I like what you said. Don't get too high on the highs and don't get too low on the lows. A good humbling experience early in the season. We took our lumps. Now let's get up and move on. We don't have time to let one game out of 16 pull us all to, well, we got to get rid of Norton. We're 4-2. Relax, Raider fans. It's going to get better. You know, the season is young. All we got to do is stay with our nose to the grind.
Okay, so we look at where we are right now, where a whole lot of teams would like to be where we are right now.
Think the 49ers would like to be 4-2 instead of 1-5? That's my Raider 49er dig of the week. Had to get it in.
Well, I tell you, it's interesting because, you know, and I know this is not a 49er show, but just real quick, I thought Cap had a good first half, but that rustiness that he had, you know, from sitting, that took the pace. But next week we come back and I think we'll have a much more optimistic, fun show. And I won't be as pessimistic. I just have a feeling. I think they're going to do well.
Well, I believe the Raiders are going to go into Jacksonville, and I believe they're going to get back to smash mouth football. We'll have Latavius Murray back hopefully next week. That turf toe injury, it really showed up as an absentee running game. We only got 65 yards on 17 carries. So the jitterbugs need some help. We need to be able to smash people in the mouth,
Conditions.
and then that'll open it up for them.
The guys that run like that, they need a dry field. They don't need a wet field.
Absolutely. So we'll be back next week. Thank you for watching Your Raiders Show on our TV.